No Narratives Podcast, y'all. Episode 25. I got a new guest on. My boy John T. Washington. Was good, man.
What's good, bro?
Nothing. I'm happy to have you on, man. You got a knowledgeable way about you, and your voice is like very it's different. Pause. But you know what I'm saying? Your voice, you got a good voice, you know what I'm saying? So how you been, man? What's been going on?
Man, nothing much, man. Just been enjoying Rockets basketball. It's a new
Yeah.
season. So
Facts.
looking forward to, the road to the play-in and stuff. That's pretty much all I've been focused on. Of course, enjoying the other games. Boston looks great. Cleveland looks great. The Suns look really good too. So yeah, just been enjoying the NBA season.
That's good, man. That's good. I know. I don't even know if you in the new group. I know I invited you to that group in Facebook. I think we made another one because the other one had got shut down. But I'm gonna invite you to it, man. There's some crazy shit that be going on. Some crazy conversations. I brought you in there to kind of balance out the nonsense. That's why I wanted you in there so bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start with what Brian Windhorst said. He was talking about NBA media. He said it's not in a good place. He said NBA media right now, we're not in a great place because I think we're devaluing things that help build the league up. Like one of the things is storytelling. Everything is too short right now. People are too focused on tweets, too focused on guys getting crossed over, guys getting dunked on, guys getting embarrassed, social media posts. Not as much on storytelling, learning about players and learning their backgrounds, what I call chronicling the season, end quote. What do you think about that quote from Brian Windhorst and what he had to say right there? What do you think about that? Because I had some thoughts of my own.
I mean, honestly, when I first heard that quote, um, the first thing that jumped out of my mind is that there's definitely a generational problem here because I feel like I'm Gen Z, right? So I'm in the
Okay,
very beginning of Gen Z. Gen Zers, like our way of consuming media is definitely more short form. So,
hmm
like he said, there's going to be like a lot of highlights, TikTok videos. Even if you look at the NBA app, like the way that they set up the NBA app now is almost like TikTok.
they have
And
stories.
yeah, they have stories on there. Um, so when you can go and like go on the app and easily pop in the game highlights and, get little clips of what's going on. So I definitely agree with Wendy there. I do think that there is an effort to reintroduce more long form content or trying to do the whole chronicling the season thing with, and I think honestly, The Last Dance kind of started that where now people are really wanting to go through and document whole seasons and stuff. So like you'll
hmm
see Boston's documentary will come out eventually. We just seen Starting Five, so I definitely think that there's a market for chronicling the season, as he said. I just think it needs to be tapped in more. There needs to be production value added to it. But as far as the media as a whole, I do as that being one problem with the way that we consume media. But the other problem is they put themselves in this situation with the type of media that the sports media has chosen to create. Where a lot of it's like Howard Stern. It's like a lot of shock jockey or shock jock stuff, as they say in radio and stuff. Like it's not really about, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to be where people are constantly like having to get all of these in-depth looks constantly, right? Like there definitely has to be a balance, but um the entertainment thing has taken too much of a precedent where like, you can't even watch a lot of basketball shows and really get truly informed on what's going on in the game because the people that are on TV now, they're really more so into the drama and stuff. And there's a place for it, don't get me wrong, but
hmm
there definitely needs to be more of a balance.
For sure. For me, man, I think you brought up a good point when you talked about chronicling the season and talking about the show starting five. But the thing about that show, it's on Netflix. It's a streaming app. It's yet
Yeah,
another streaming app that somebody has to subscribe to watch the content. You know what I'm saying? Netflix is now cracking down on password sharing and
right.
stuff like that. So now that's something else. People not trying to watch the game on Amazon Prime, watch the game on Peacock, watch the game on this, watch the game on that. People not trying to do that. It's so many streaming platforms now. It's almost like just bring back cable. Just bring back cable television. Like that's literally let's put it all in one place and let's watch it. I think that's one thing. Number two, the internet is broad and brand. I think so many people so many people, we talk about generational gaps. You
Right,
have people I'm a millennial. You have people that's before millennials, and you have people that's on the beginning of that millennial stage, which I believe is like 85, 86. Like those people, they want to hold on and covet to when they were younger. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So they like that the ratings are low, so it can say, I told you so, the game is not good. The game is not good. And it's really like, well, people are just illegal streaming now. Like it has nothing to do with people not actually watching the game. The ratings don't tell you that people are watching. They're just finding illegal avenues to do it. Stream East allegedly got shut down, and they came out and said, no, we'll never be shut down. We'll always have streaming sites. If one gets shut down, we have 100 more proxies. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's the type of stuff that they do. And people, I don't think people want to acknowledge that. And I don't think people know that, to be honest, too.
yeah,
And I just think that also we talk so much like inside the NBA on TNT, like this is their last season. Everybody was crying about how, oh my God, they're getting done so wrong and da 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 da. But it's like for me, I'm like, those guys constantly get on television and tell you that they don't watch the games. The game that they're covering on their network, they say they don't watch the games. And then they tell you how much they hate the game. And then they
right,
tell you how, like all this stuff, people, even if they halfway listening and they're in the kitchen washing dishes while it's on halftime, they hearing this stuff. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So you got people on TV saying that cover the sports saying that they don't find it entertaining, that they hate the game, that they don't watch the games. What is the average Joe Schmo's fan supposed to think?
right,
You know what I mean? And like that's another problem. When you watch NFL content, you don't see people in the NFL doing that. You don't see NFL live people saying, back in my day, back in my day, back in my day. They talk about the game today, they break down the film, X, Y, and Z. They know that the game has changed. They know that concussions are more prevalent. They know that the hits are less violent. They know that the quarterback is more protected, but they're not
right,
crying about it all day. That's all NBA people do. Fans, media, they cry about it. And lastly, I think that the precedent set by the media, and it started on First Take, it started on the debate shows, and it trickled down eventually all the way to the fans, even to the casual Joe Schmo. When you tell these guys that the regular season doesn't matter, when you tell these guys that they putting up um trash stats and they're just inflating their stats and that's all that they care about, and you're belittling all NBA teams, you're belittling all-star appearances, you're belittling the story, quote unquote, of the season, which is what Brian Windhorst is saying, and you're only talking about a guy winning a championship. Like what can, like I don't understand what people expect there. You know what I mean? Like I don't
yeah,
get what people expect. So y'all are telling us the game ain't shit, y'all telling us not that the regular season ain't shit, and then y'all saying, but watch the games, watch the regular season. Huh?
yeah, yeah. That I 100% agree with you. I think you made two great points for sure. Because on one hand, yeah, you have the debate show culture that trickled all the way down. But the bigger problem is there's nobody in the NBA game that's really trying to uphold the game. It's too many people having this criticism. Like I was listening to 610, and you know 610 is with CBS, so you catch like CBS other
Mm.
stations and stuff on there, right? And one guy was talking. This is like late at night, so one guy was on there saying that well, the league doesn't really have a face, which I think they do have a face. I think it's Jason Tatum,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and then they said that the you know all the teams are shooting all of these threes, and my whole thing is nobody cared when it was all these mid range jumpers, and during
I
the
don't
dead ball
understand
era,
the difference.
nobody. It's
I
no,
don't
it's literally
understand that.
the only thing is that I think the mid range looks more aesthetically pleasing because of the manner in which you have to get into the lane and kind of create that
Yeah.
shot. It looks more
Yeah.
entertaining, and because it can be such a tough shot, but it's not a high efficiency shot. The thing
Yeah.
about it that people don't realize is the only reason why you have a negative opinion of the 3 point line and 3 point shooting is because the game was not introduced with a 3 point line. Now, the fact of the matter is that from a mathematical standpoint, and people don't want to hear this, but it does make
Yeah.
more sense to shoot the threes. There's no
It
there,
does.
and if you think about it, I remember when I was a kid, and again, the 3 point line was a novelty, and
Mm-hmm.
had it not been introduced as a novelty, people would feel much different. But because it was looked at as a novelty, and because it was looked at as like, you know, this is a really hard shot, it's not something that you should be taking regularly. My whole thought process as a kid is like, okay, when people gonna start shooting more of these? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's stopping, when you really think about it, what's stopping people from shooting more threes? And eventually somebody answered that question, you know. We get
Mm-hmm.
the Rockets, the Daryl Morey led Rockets. We get
Mm-hmm.
the Golden
The
State Warriors.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I say all that to say, I think people just have that negative perception based on how it was introduced. And I also think that people are really not watching the games to the idea that
They
all the
not
teams
watching the
play.
games.
The idea that there's no style differences between teams is a
Mm-hmm.
complete lie. There's always
Yeah,
been
they're
style
not watching the
differences.
games. Yeah, the Rockets don't play anything like the Warriors. The Warriors don't play like the Celtics. The Celtics don't play like the Sixers. There's and the Nuggets. Who plays like the Nuggets? Who has probably the Kings? Who has a center like Jokic where they cut off of him consistently and he's a post threat. He's scoring in the post. He's scoring in the mid range. He's scoring at three. He's handling the ball to full into the court. Who? How many centers are doing that on a nightly basis?
There's literally
And
only
another
three
thing,
teams in the league that can run that personnel. Literally
exactly.
three.
And it's like if you say, okay, I want the mid range game back. So let's use the Rockets as an example because that's both of our teams.
Yeah.
So you got Alprinson going to 18 foot. You got
Hmm.
Jabari at 12 feet. Where is the lane? How you get into the lane if you're a guard? If you Fred VanVleet, how you get into the lane? If you Jalen Green, who already struggles to get into the lane in a spacing error, how you get into the lane? All
Yep.
it did, the term work smarter, not harder, has been in effect in the NBA for the longest. I understand that people don't like the volume of threes. Like, I'm not here to really defend it. I'm just saying that I understand it. It's like
Exactly.
literally it makes sense. You cannot from a I understand basketball perspective. You cannot disagree with it. You can't say like, oh, it makes no sense to do that. Because if
Right.
you look at how the game is played, it actually makes the most sense. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's like people want this, like they want a Kobe or they want a Paul Pierce back. And it's like those guys, if they were in this league, would be those shots that you see would be threes. They would
Exactly.
be threes.
Exactly.
They would
Exactly.
be threes today.
Exactly. Back
It's
back
more
then,
points.
back then, the stretch the power forward that stretched the floor was the guy that could get on the pick and roll and it could pop out there to the
Mm-hmm.
high post and knock down that shot. Get into the mid range
Mm-hmm.
and knock down that shot. That's
Mm-hmm.
no different than what they doing now. They just going a few steps back. You know what I'm
Back.
saying?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
and like you said, y'all want a Kobe or y'all want a Paul Pierce or a Michael Jordan or what have you, the shot diet would be completely different. And
For
the,
sure.
the the biggest testament to that, look at somebody like LeBron, right? Whose shot
Mm-hmm.
diet, you could literally see the progression of his shot diet from when he came into the league
It's the league to now.
to now, to where he's
Mm-hmm.
shooting a high volume of
The
threes, or at least a high
threes.
volume for him. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's not how it was.
He was never like that.
Even Kobe's shot diet, it didn't just evolve because of age, but it also evolved because the NBA started to evolve, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think if you had these guys in this era and a lot of these guys in this era, like, no, it wouldn't be no turnaround, Jay. It's going to be a step back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know what I
That's what
was
it's going to
thinking
be.
too? I was thinking this, like, I really want this to happen. It's not gonna happen because it's just not gonna happen. But I
Yeah.
really want this to happen. I want a team to go back. I want a team today to play like the '04 Timberwolves. And then I want a team today to play like the Celtics. And let's just see the play styles of how they turn out. One team will get obliterated. I just think that one
Absolutely.
team will, because of the math. It's just simple math. And then once that happens, and we see that team that plays like the '06 Miami Heat or the '07 Milwaukee Bucks, when we see those teams not win consistently, we can finally put the argument to bed because they're going
Yeah.
to be putting up 86 points per game. And the other team is going to be putting up 115 a game. And then
Yeah.
we can finally put the conversation to bed. That's really what I want. But like I said, it'll never happen because teams are just too smart. All of these guys that we glorify, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Michael Redd, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James in that early time, even though he's still playing, Vince
Carmelo.
Carter,
Yeah.
Carmelo, like all of these guys would be way more efficient. They would be their percentages would be through the roof. You know what I'm saying? Their scoring numbers would be ridiculous if they played how they play today. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. And I get this notion thrown on me that, oh, like I think everything in today's game is perfect. It's like I don't necessarily think it's perfect, but I
It's not perfect.
understand it's not perfect by any means. But it's like I understand where the NBA has gone. Me understanding something and me not liking is two different things. I don't like how
Absolutely.
a receiver, I don't like how a receiver could come across the middle, dunk his head, get hit in the head, and then it's a 15-yard penalty on a defense, even though the receiver did this. But I understand the safety precautions. I understand the concussion protocol. Why am I going to sit here and cry about something that's like not going to change and that they're going to keep the same because we have new information? Like, I just don't
Exactly.
understand the point of crying about it. But a lot of people like to just cry about it all day. I'm not that type of person.
And the thing is, things have to evolve. Like there's gonna be a new meta or new rule or whatever have you down the line for all of these sports teams, all of these
Mm-hmm.
leagues, it's going to continue to evolve, but the thing with the NBA is like a lot of these guys, you got to get out of that antiquated way of thinking. Like you said, the league is too smart now. A lot of shit that you could run back in the day, you cannot run in today's league. The guys are too
Mm-hmm.
smart. Like scram switching, we didn't see scram switching back in the day. We didn't even
Yeah.
switching back in the day. Nobody thought to switch. You
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 know what they
guarded your
did?
position.
You know what they did? They had matchups. You remember before the games came on, Kobe would be the game started at 7. Kobe at the
Yeah,
gym at 11 in the morning, Tony Allen in the gym at 11 in the morning, and they like, oh, we got a matchup. Tony Allen versus Kobe Bryant. We got a matchup. Shane
yeah,
Battier, Bruce Bowen versus Kobe Bryant. It was like that particular matchup. A lot of people that grew up watching that, I'm like, now you got 4 or 5 guys that can guard a Kobe. Like, not
yeah.
saying that they're gonna stop him. Obviously, they're not, but you got switchable guys. It's not this archaic form where you got Yao Ming, you got Luis Scola, you got Shane. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not that, like you said, antiquated. It's not that anymore. That's an old
Yeah,
way.
these bigger 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guys, they weren't allowed to come out on the perimeter and get a hand up on you.
Mm-hmm.
So now
They didn't
you
have the
got the
footwork.
they didn't have the footwork, but now the footwork has evolved. And the way I think about it too is like as a player, as a basketball player, from an individual standpoint, why wouldn't you want to have these skills? Why
Mm-hmm.
not? Why wouldn't I want to be a good 3-point shooter?
Or
You know what I'm
laterally
saying?
quick.
Or exactly, or have good lateral quick. Why wouldn't I want to be able to do that? Why wouldn't I want to be able to switch on the guards or be a guard being able to switch onto a forward? You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. Why would I want to limit myself? That's the other thing about it.
Exactly.
Is like, why do y'all want players to limit themselves?
They
They,
want the
them, they-
purity of the power forward position back. They want the purity of the shooting guard position back. And again, to some degree, to some, I understand what they're talking about. I'm not
yeah,
opposed to it. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, big dog, that's not the smart way to play. Why would I want Luis Scola to try to guard Luka Doncic? No, I want a power forward that can shoot the three, that can spread the floor, that can handle the ball, that can pass, that's athletic, and he can defend 3 positions. That I want Amen Thompson before I want Luis Scola. Even though Luis Scola can score, even though Luis Scola got a post game, even though Luis Scola can score with his back to the basket. I like Amen Thompson's ability more than Luis Scola's. As crazy as that may seem.
yeah. But it's the fact of the matter is that somebody like a Man Thompson can impose his will on the game better than a Luis Scola.
Because Luis can do it from one part.
He can only do it from one part. Now, that's not to say that a man is an outright better player.
Player,
I'm
exactly.
not saying that he's a better basketball player, but for what the
Exactly.
league needs,
Mm-hmm.
he has
For what a
more. A
team
man
needs. Yeah.
for what a team needs, a man
Mm-hmm.
has more impact because he's going to do
Mm-hmm.
all the dirty stuff. He's going to create havoc on offense and
Mm-hmm.
defense. Like you'll see him, he's getting putbacks, he's getting
He a
offensive
live threat.
rebounds. He's a lob threat. You know what I'm saying? And he can get downhill on his own. The mid range shot is coming, is getting better and better. You know, he's more of a threat than a Luis Scola in today's NBA. And it's not Luis Scola fault. It's not a Man Thompson fault. It's just the way that the cookie crumbled. The other
Yeah.
part about this whole thing that I don't think people are realizing is this league, some of the better teams in the league are not doing well shooting from three. And I know
The
it's
whole
early in
league is
this.
struggling.
Yeah, the whole league is struggling. And it's not that's not to say that things won't change. Of course, it's very early in the season, but
Mm-hmm.
this idea that I think a lot of people's ideas about what the league is constantly get challenged, and I think this is another situation. I mean, you look at Denver. Denver won a championship being one of the lowest 3-point shooting teams in the league.
Nobody
Like,
cares
but
about
based
that.
on volume, but you would be led to believe that they're, and I would say Denver takes a lot of mid-range shots based on their personnel. They actually take
Mm-hmm.
a lot of teams actually still take a good amount of mid-range shots. when you really think about it, it's just that they don't go in. And most of the people, you have to have like a license to shoot that shot. You know,
Yeah.
not everybody can just go in the game and shoot
And
that
it's
shot.
way lower in consideration to like 2004, which I
Absolutely.
understand, or 2009, which I understand. Like even I go back sometimes, I'll watch a game from 2013, and I'm like, damn, look how different the game was played.
Yeah.
2014, I'm like,
Yeah.
God, look how different the game was played in 2014 compared to now. So imagine 2004, which was 20 years ago. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I get that, but I'm just glad I got you on because like you gave another perspective, but it was like agree in agreement with mine at the same
Yeah.
time. So like you just looked at it differently. So I like that, man. But that's number one. That's topic number one. Topic number two, the Rockets have a back to back. They have a back to back today. They play Detroit matinee, then they play Washington tomorrow. By the way, I'm gonna have Bias Will on. Bias Houston. I'm sorry, Bias
I know
Houston.
you're talking about. I
Yeah,
know you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna have him on Tuesday. I'm gonna have him on my
Okay.
on my
Okay.
personal
I'm
channel
looking
on
forward to
Tuesday.
that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so what are your thoughts like on the Rockets so far this season? My homeboy, he called me, man. He's like, I'm done with Jalen Green. I'm like, bro, Jalen kind of been like the only one hooping. Like, but go ahead.
I so yeah, I would argue Jalen's been our best player. I would argue that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think yes, the efficiency in some games is bad, but you have to look at the
Mhm,
fourth quarters.
mhm.
And you have to. I don't know if you watch Rocket Shop Shop, but I watch Rocket Shop
I
Shop a
do.
lot.
Yeah,
And
Frank is
Frank,
cool. I'm
yeah,
trying to get
Frank
him
is
on
cool.
too.
Yeah, Frank, he knows his stuff. What Frank says is he's process oriented, and I love when he says that because I feel the same way. I look at Jalen's process, and when I look at his process last year, it's night and day. There's still moments where he gets passive, like you seen against OKC. But I think with Jalen, people have to understand he's a shooting guard, right? And there's a bit of human nature that comes into this. I don't think that he wants to go into the games jacking. I really do think that he has a deep desire to play team basketball and to play winning
Mhm,
basketball. And I think the passiveness is from he feels like we have other guys on the team, and if I know that I'm missing a few shots, then I need to get a look for somebody else versus me spamming, shooting, shooting, shooting. Right. So overall, I look at his process and it's not been bad. I think he just struggles against teams that are able to trap him. And I think
yes.
that's
Oh my
more,
gosh.
most of what you've seen is that him not being able to beat a trap. But the reason why he's not able to beat a trap is because the rest of the team is not shooting a three at a high enough clip to be able to open up the lane for him. So I also look at some of the struggles is their bad matchups. He's getting put into bad matchups and he's not being able to he's not getting looks that he should be getting, and it's not because he can't get that look or
Mhm,
we can't counter the defense, but it's we can't counter the defense because we don't have the 3-point shooting, we don't have the the offensive continuity just yet.
mhm.
So yeah, I think Jalen's been our best player. um Most of what I see wrong with this team is again, it's the lack of 3-point shooting, the lack of offensive organization. I think Fred, it's time. It's we knew this
Bro,
was coming. We
do
knew
you
this was coming.
realize that? Do you realize though, like going into the OKC game with everything that you just said, the Rockets were top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense, and and top 5 in net rating. Now this is before the OKC game, so I don't know what the numbers look like now, but that's crazy. Like, how was that possible? With Jabari playing the way he's playing, with Dylan with Jalen shooting, with Sengun slow start, Fred VanVleet slow start, they were top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense, top 5 in net rating. That's crazy.
Because you know what it is though, because the things that we execute on a lot of things well, but it's just like the hustle shit. It's like the
The hustle.
Yeah, it's like us, the offensive rebounding, us getting second opportunities. I think that's a big reason why our offense is still top 10 going into the
Mm,
OKC game. Um, so we do a lot of the little stuff well, and we are able to, like, when we have the right lineups in, that's another problem. When we have the right lineups
oh
in,
man.
we're able to create enough havoc to where we can get some offense going, and that's another point is that I do think it's time for Jabari to go to the bench. I'm not 100% out on Jabari just yet. I am frustrated. Yes, I'm frustrated with his performance, but I'm not 100% out on him. I think he is suffering from him being on a team that there's too many guys. And the way that the offense is set up, I think they got to change it. I think they need to go more Jalen pick and roll, spread it out, and they need to utilize a rotation of Brooks, Eason. They need to just use their forwards more, essentially, right? and they need to really get more 3-point shooting out there. They need to get Reed out there.
Mm.
But they need to change the way that they play. This whole like style of, Fred, bringing it up and, playing this real half court style. They got to get away from that.
I
They
mean,
they
it's
really got to get
hard
away
to
from
do
that.
that when it's hard to do when you got Fred. I looked it up while you were talking. The Rockets right now still top 10 in offense. They're literally number 10. They're number 7 in defense, and they're number 9 in net rating. So this is still a good basketball team on both
Yeah.
sides of the basketball. I really didn't want to get stuck on Jalen because
Yeah. Yeah.
Jalen has been solid this year. He's been
Yeah.
solid. Ime Udoka. I want to start there, then I want to go to Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka with his, it seems like he makes rotations like what's that saying? A dollar late and a dollar
Yeah.
no a day early and a dollar
And
short.
short. Yeah.
Yeah, a dollar short. Like he is like literally like that. Like for me, it's like he the Warriors game. They came out. I think the Warriors got up 14-4, like the first 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to at that point. I said, I know what they got to do. They got to kind of go small. They got to be able to switch everything. But he stuck with the lineup, and the league gets closer, goes higher, goes higher, goes higher. It balloons. Then he wants to make an adjustment. By that time, we're down 22. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then you go to the OKC game. Again, I'm not mad at him for throwing Steven Adams out there. Cool. Steven Adams was healthy. You want to keep him kind of sharp. You want to knock the rust off. Cool. But after the first 2 minutes, when you see, okay, they're not respecting him on the offensive end, he's mucking up our offense and the defense. Alex Caruso was 3 of 21 going into the game. I don't care. Alex Caruso is like a career 35, 36% three-point
He's a
shooter.
shooter.
You
He's
feel
gonna
what I'm
knock it
saying?
down.
So I don't care about those statistics. You put him out there, you put him on Alex Caruso. Caruso goes 2 of 3 from 3. It just now the lead is crazy. They lost that game in the second quarter, 44-20. You know what I'm saying? Like they lost that game literally in the second quarter. Every other quarter was close. Every other
Yeah.
quarter. So it's like if he makes an adjustment quicker, oh shoot, this not working. Let me go. I still want some size. Let me put Jabari out there. You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Let me be able to switch everything. Let me get some spacing. No, that's not what he does. He waits. That's my biggest gripe with him. What about you for Ime Udoka? There we go to Jabari.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think, like I said earlier, I think the lineups are a big issue and why we're not better than what we are right now. And you are 100% right. He leaves guys out there. He's quick to pull one of the younger guys, but he's not as quick to pull a vet. And that's a huge problem because your personnel is screaming that you need to play the young guys over the older guys. I'm sorry.
Mm,
Steven Adams, I love what he can do with the screens, but that is one aspect of the game. One aspect of the game. And if
mm,
he's not able, it doesn't make any sense because when you're playing against a team at OKC where they can switch everything and they can run around and stuff like that, like that screen setting stuff, that works against teams that have poor defensive discipline. They have poor defensive rotations and stuff like that. That works against teams like that. But when you're playing against an OKC, you need speed. You need quickness. You need lateral agility. You don't need
yeah,
necessarily screen setting. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like the screens are good, but we're not he's not going to be good enough on defense to justify us leaving him out, to get that one shot.
All five guys can dribble. All five guys can shoot. All five guys can pass and can cut. All things that are Steven Adams is like Achilles heel. So any team, if I'm coaching on the other team, I see Steven Adams in, I'm going 5 out. He's not gonna get to the corner. He's slow footed. You feel what I'm saying? I'm gonna make him, that whoever's guarding him, we're gonna run an action, we're gonna pick on him, get in the corner every time, be ready to shoot. You're gonna get 7, 8 shots in this quarter. Be ready to shoot. Like that's it. Like that's all you got to do. And Steven Adams is neutralized. I don't understand why Ime Udoka does that, man. So like that really burned me up against OKC because I'm like, you gotta see the adjustment. It was 31-31 in the first quarter. The Rockets were hooping. I'm like, bro, okay, so keep your best lineups out there, raise minutes, shorten the rotation even more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you
If he
gotta
would have,
do
if he would
different
have rolled,
things.
if he rolled Alpi, I would have accepted that. I would have accepted him riding
You know who
Alpi.
could have helped us? Cam Whitmore. That game, that game, that specific game.
I have some information that I can't disclose here on the
Oh, okay.
pod. And we'll
Okay.
talk out off pod about that.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I do think, I hope that situation gets figured out because
Okay. Okay.
I definitely think that he's needed. I think I'm honestly of the opinion that they don't really need to trade any of these guys. They need to try to figure out. They're going to have to let one of these guys go, and if the right deal comes across.
Hmm.
But I think really they need to get away from the older players because the older players are don't help personnel wise with what the younger players are
Hmm.
trying to do. I don't think
Hmm.
Alperin. My criticisms of Alperin are my criticisms of Alperin, right?
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I don't want him on the team. I don't think he fits on the
Hmm.
team. I
Hmm.
think Alperin could be the guy, and Alperin's athletic
He is.
for who he is,
Hmm.
right? And he's been much better on defense than
Hmm.
people are willing to give him credit for. I know people look at his skin
Absolutely.
color and just assume, you know,
Yeah.
but defensively, he's been really good in pick and roll. Alprin can be the guy that's slew-footed on the team. He can be that guy, but we're starting to now our lineups are starting to be okay. We got two guys that can't keep up with the other three guys, and the other three guys aren't able to play the way that they can play because they're having to be held out by the other two guys. And I think that has to change. If you're going to do the lineups, you can do Fred, but make sure Fred is out there with floor spacers and guys who can run, right? If you're going
Hmm.
to put Steven Adams out there, you're going to have to make sure that the rest of the lineup maybe not put Reed with him. You know what I'm saying? Or if Reed is
Hmm.
going to be with him, he's going to have to shoot. But you can't
Hmm.
put Fred and Adams on the floor, right? Like
Yeah.
you just can't do that, you know. So I think there has to be a little bit more common sense
Okay. Yeah,
with
and I agree
these
with that.
lineups.
I agree
So
with that. The last, I want to go first on this one, brother. Like
yeah,
I
go ahead.
really do, man. Jabari Smith Jr. Listen, I've been on my pod. I've been kicking his back in. Like I've been saying all the stuff about how he needs to shoot better and how he's not reliable. He was drafted to because he shot what 43% at Auburn his freshman year from three. Like a lot of stuff. And I called my again. This is the same friend I told you that he said he was over Jalen Green. He called me yesterday morning, and we was having a conversation. He was like, "Bro, you right about Jabari, but you wrong about one thing." And the one thing that I was wrong about, I said I've been thinking that in the back of my head, but I just haven't said it. And I'm just gonna tell him what he said. He not getting the ball enough.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah,
getting the ball. He said he getting 2 shots a quarter. I said, yeah, that's true. He probably is getting 2 shots in a quarter. And when you look at the tape from Auburn, he had the ball in his hand. He was initiating offense at times, like he was doing that. And it goes back to your vet point. Dylan Brooks is taking shots. Good shooter, not mad at it. Fred VanVleet is taking shots, sometimes erratic. Sometimes you wish he would move it. They're not making a concerted effort to give Jabari Smith the ball. I want Jabari Smith to play better. The best I've seen Jabari Smith play was those 2 summer league games versus Portland and Detroit.
yep,
That's the
yep.
best he's looked in the NBA. And that's sad. You know what I'm saying?
And
So,
that was when he had an opportunity to have the ball in his hands.
and that was, yeah, exactly. So for me, it's like they need to do something to get Jabari Smith involved more. You said maybe a lineup change. A lot of people have suggested that. I've suggested that. But maybe like Fred come off the ball a lot more. Like be like almost stand in the corner guy and initiate Sengun, Jalen, and Jabari first and have Dylan and Fred our catch and shoot bailout options. But those guys are in the prime of their careers. I don't think that that's going to happen. What say you?
What did you said is exactly what I've been thinking to myself like the past couple weeks, and
Mm,
really what I've thought from the jump. I did not when they brought Fred in, I did not think that he was going to be taking the volume of shots that he was taking. I thought that his role was more, let me get this stabilized so Jalen and Alp can get into their sets. I didn't think it was going to be Fred's sets. You know what I'm saying?
I'm coming off the
So
screen. I'm shooting.
yeah, like you see that 100 times a game, and it's very annoying because there's some Rockets fans in the community, like some Jalen fans, who think that he's capable of playing point guard. I'm not going to go that far and
I
say
don't think
that.
that. I don't
Yeah, I
think
don't
so.
think that. I do not think that he's a point guard.
Mm,
However, I do think he is an offensive initiator. I think he
mm,
can initiate offense, which is different than being a full-blown point guard.
for
I
sure.
think, I think the big mishandling in all this situation is that with respect to Jabari, with respect to Jalen, both of them have suffered because of Fred. Because really, like you said, they should be Jalen Alpi, pick and roll, Jalen Jabari, pick and pop,
Hmm.
and sometimes roll, right?
Hmm.
And they're not. The other issue is that Jalen does not get enough off on ball reps. He has the athleticism, the speed to create. for himself and for other people to an extent,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's not being nurtured enough because we're giving the ball to Fred. And likewise, it's not Jabari's skill is not being nurtured enough, which is why I said, hey, maybe move him to the bench where he can get more shots, and he's going up against the second string, which means
Mm-hmm.
it may be better for easier for him to get going against the second string.
And let him give
But
him a chance to initiate offense.
yeah, give him a chance to initiate offense. Like there was that game. What game was that? Was that against the Spurs where he had like I think the second half or he ended up with
17.
17? Yes, yes, yeah,
Yes.
17
Mm-hmm.
points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's in him. It's there. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of those guys where and there's a lot of guys like that in the league is like the worst thing you do is take the ball away from them. They're not really guys that can handle that are going to do better with low volume because you end up sending them mixed signals. And so
That's what I
now,
wanted. That's why I wanted Jabari, though. To be honest with you, not to cut you off, like
yeah, go
that's
ahead.
why I wanted Jabari because I was like, I feel like he could play off ball. I feel like he didn't need looking at his skill set. I'm just saying, looking at the skill set coming out of Auburn. I thought he could shoot off the catch at an elite level. I was like, this is perfect to a certain extent. I'm crazy for saying this in hindsight, but to a certain back then, I was like,
You
that's
thought he
kind of
was
why I
KD.
wanted. That's no, hell no. That's why I wanted Jabari over Paolo because I was like, at the time we had Kevin Porter Jr. So I'm
Yeah,
like, that's another. Now we're gonna draft another guy like Paolo who need the ball in his hands. I was like, let's get Jabari. He could play. He could be that sniper. Like I told y'all in the group chat. I heard from some people 6'10" Klay Thompson. That is
yeah.
what I heard. So if I'm hearing Klay Thompson don't initiate offense like that. Klay Thompson don't. You know what I'm saying? Klay Thompson don't hesitate. You know what I'm saying? He catch and shoot. That's why I thought. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. You made some good points, and I was under the same impression. A lot of people were saying KD. I say that jokingly,
That's
but
insane.
yeah, I say that jokingly. But I seen some people say Jason Tatum too, and I was like, hell no,
That's insane.
hell no. Jason Tatum was handling the ball like at Chaminade. He was handling the ball at Duke. So no, I don't think that's Jabari. But um, the thing about like the thing about Jabari is like you know he he wasn't 16 Klay Thompson. That's not the shots that he was taking. The shots that he was taking was more. Don't get me wrong. I think he can be a hell of a shooter, but
Mm-hmm.
more you seen him. It was a lot of high post work, mid post work. Not a lot of low
Mm-hmm.
post, but high mid post work. He's
Mm-hmm.
facing up.
Face up.
Um, yeah, a lot of face up, a lot of face up work. That was more his bread and butter. And when he comes to the Rockets, like that completely gets taken out of his shot. That because obviously that's not a high percentage shot for him, or not on the
Committee?
NBA level. Him taking those middies, like because
He
when
might
you
be an
watch it,
exception if he shoot like he shot at
I
Auburn.
I I agree, and I think even his mid range shot has been better than his 3-point shot this season.
Yes.
Okay, however, the way the NBA looks at that shot diet, there was no way he was going to step onto a Rockets team and do that. What I really thought is that he could do some of the stuff that Christian Wood does. I think like when you look at his overall profile, his skill set, I think he could do some of the stuff Christian Wood was doing. Christian Wood is a bigger, more of a he's more of a lob threat. But from a shooting
Mm-hmm.
perspective, I thought, okay, he can do some of that stuff that he does, but he never has had the opportunity or the offensive structure or, the infrastructure for him to be able to take those type of shots and get in a rhythm doing that. Because you have to get into a rhythm shooting those type of shots. Those are not shots that you
Yeah.
can just hey,
Walk
they
into.
automatic that you can just walk into. Like you need the
Mm-hmm.
ball. So I think the ultimate thing for him, well, for one, okay, they're gonna have to they gotta get into the meeting room and they gotta look at each other. Ime and Raphael, they gotta look at each other and be like, hey, we might need to do something differently with Fred. We might need to tell him like, hey, like you'll be better just being a catch and shoot option. You can handle it, but in lower volume. And get the ball to Jalen, get the ball to Jabari, get the ball to Alperen, and let them work out. Let Jabari run more with the second unit, and let him be more of a focal point of the second unit alongside Tari Eason. So I think
Yeah, I
that'll be
seen I seen somebody in a pod. It might have been Frank. He said he just has no, I think it was Jackson Gatlin. He
yeah,
said that he just seems to have more of a rapport with Tari Eason. So
yeah,
it might be better to have him come off the bench and insert Amen Thompson. I don't know who it was specifically, but it was somebody because I'm always looking for Rockets content. But man, hey, episode 25 has been great, bro. I appreciate you for coming on. You very knowledgeable, insightful, man. We're gonna do this more.
yeah, for sure.
My guy Quinn couldn't make it. I want to introduce you to the pod, bro, because you just a knowledgeable cat. I like that about you, man. And you're not biased, and that's what I like about the pod. I don't like to bring that bias shit into here, man. But
Right.
hey, y'all, thanks for watching. We gone.
Appreciate it.